In the class today, as I told you a little while ago, we are going to take up your course 2. This is drama in English. In the last during the last week, we talked about English language teaching or ELT, which is your first course in second semester. In the class today and in the classes that we will be taking up during this week, we are going to discuss drama in English. Just a moment, please. I am trying to change the slide. Yes. There are 4 plays prescribed for your study in the second semester. During this semester, in this course, Drama in English, you will study King Lear. King Lear is a play by William Shakespeare. You will also study A Doll's House. A Doll's House is a play by Henrik Ibsen. And we will also study a play by Tennessee Williams titled A Streetcar Named Desire. Finally, in this semester, in the course Drama in English, you will also study Manjula Padmanabhan's Lights Out. So these are the 4 plays prescribed for your study. I would advise everybody to please go through these plays. There is some disturbance outside. I hope it is not affecting you. Okay. So before I take up these 4 plays, it is important that you pick up the text, that you pick up the play and read it on your own. This is going to be a great help. From units 1 to 4, as you can see on your screen, we will be discussing today the origin and development of English drama. In Unit 2, we'll discuss the life and works of William Shakespeare. Then we will devote Units 3 and 4 exclusively to a study of King Lear. In Unit 3, we'll be studying the background, plot, and characters. And finally, in Unit 4 today, we'll look at what is the theme of King Lear, how is the narration done, what are the different dramatic techniques that Shakespeare adopts, and we'll see how best we can attempt a critical appreciation of King Lear. Before we move ahead, I would like to tell you that some of the things that we will be discussing, especially in Unit 1, would have been already touched as part of your Semester 1 when we were looking at the history of English literature. While looking at different periods, whether we looked at the Elizabethan age or the Restoration age or the Victorian age or the modern age, we have also discussed drama in each of these different periods. So some of this may sound a little repetitive. Units 5 to 8 will be taken up in the class tomorrow. Unit 5 introduces us to modern English drama. Then we'll study a playwright, Henrik Ibsen. The play prescribed by Henrik Ibsen, as I told you a little while ago, is A Doll's House. In a pattern similar to King Lear, we'll first have an understanding of the background. We'll look at the plot and the different characters. We'll also study the theme. We'll also look at the dramatic technique. And we'll try to attempt a critical appreciation of the play. So we will be covering Block 1 and Block 2 of Drama in English in our sessions this week. Let us look at Unit 1. As you can see on your screens, we are going to talk about the origin and development of English drama. The first thing that occurs to us when we are thinking of the origin of English drama is the mystery plays and the miracle plays. In the coming slides, we'll take up each one of these in detail. We'll also talk about morality plays. We'll look at interludes. We'll see how theatre began in the Elizabethan period, and within the Elizabethan period, when we discuss Elizabethan drama or Elizabethan theatre, we'll have it divided into 3 parts. What were the first regular comedies? What were the first regular tragedies? And we'll also try to understand the university wits. Just a moment, please. If you get a question on the origin and development of the English drama, you will have these as your subheadings when you write your answer. Or you may get short answer type questions on each one of the bullet points. Let us now move and try to see what we mean by mystery plays. Mystery plays are plays that are based on stories from the Old Testament and the New Testament. As some of you may already know, the Old Testament and the New Testament are together known as the Bible. So the mystery plays were based on stories from the Bible. Most of the time, the mystery plays were a presentation of the life of Christ. Different events from the life of Christ were taken and presented in the mystery plays. But the most popular theme in the mystery plays was the crucifixion of Christ. And in general, as you can see on the fourth bulleted point, this was performed in the church by the clergymen. So mystery plays were purely liturgical plays. Some examples of the mystery plays, as you can see reflected on your screen, are the Second Shepherd's Play, Birth of Jesus, The Wise Men. There are various aspects from the life of Christ or from the Old Testament or from the New Testament that can be used as the main theme or the main plot of a mystery play. For example, the flood during the time of Noah, or the story of the birth of Jesus. These were, even today, during Christmas time, the crucifixion of Christ and the birth of Christ are very popular presentations in churches or in communities to depict the life of Christ or to talk about Christianity or to talk about the sacrifice. Then we look at miracle plays. We told you that the origins of English drama can be traced to the mystery and the miracle plays. While the mystery plays dealt with stories from the Old and the New Testament, while they concentrated more on the life of Christ, and within the life of Christ, crucifixion of Christ was the most important theme, the miracle plays presented lives of saints or martyrs. They would pick up a saint from the Christian tradition and try to enact some aspect or some important event from the life of the saint. These miracle plays are also called saints' plays because they depicted events from the life of a saint. Like the mystery plays, the miracle plays also started as church service. They would be performed in the church by the liturgy. But later, the themes became more and more secular, and they were gradually separated from the church. There came a time in the 17th century when Henry VIII completely banned the miracle plays. When you studied the history of English literature last semester, you studied how during the Puritan age, drama was banned. No plays were performed. That was the time of John Milton, if you remember, the age of Puritanism. Now we move on to the morality plays. Morality plays developed from the mystery plays and the miracle plays. These are generally allegorical. They contain a story within a story, and we find that moral values are personified, or abstract ideas are presented as personification. For example, the 7 deadly sins. These could be personified and presented on stage. The main purpose of the morality plays was to educate the people about Christianity as a religion. But you will find that morality plays are still used across the world to teach people various values. In our own state, Telangana, the street plays popularly revolved around how liquor can affect a family. So these plays were meant to inculcate the value of avoiding alcohol or any such other evil in society. In most of our societies, in our regions, near our colleges, schools, even schools generally have small plays being performed to inculcate some good values or good ideas among the children. So in the beginning, when we found that drama generally emerged from the church, they were performed in the church as part of church service, and gradually there is a shift towards secular drama. And it is these morality plays that bridge this link between the liturgical drama and the secular drama. 2 examples of morality plays are given on your screens. The Castle of Perseverance, and Everyman. When we were talking about the origin of English drama, along with mystery plays, miracle plays, and morality plays, interludes were also mentioned. What are interludes? As the term indicates, an interlude is something that comes in between something else. It was a short play presented between some events to provide entertainment. It could be any event happening. In the course of that event, during a short break, a short play gets performed. That is an interlude. Most of the time, these interludes in the early part of drama in English were very short, and they generally dealt with religious topics. But unlike the mystery and the miracle plays, they were not serious. They were generally very funny. Hence, we can say that the interludes were generally farcical. What do we mean by a farce? F-A-R-C-E. A farce is a comic play that generally uses any improbable situation which is often exaggerated. The intention is to create humor and laughter. One playwright who's famous for having written interludes is Thomas Heywood. The three plays by Thomas Heywood are there on your screen. The Four P's, Johann the husband, and Sir John the priest. These three are examples of interludes. Now we move to the development of English drama, and we start with Elizabethan theatre. Again, when in semester 1, when you are studying the history of English literature, you have studied how the Elizabethan age was a very good, a very productive age for drama. On the first bullet point that you see on your screens now, we have the opening of the theatres in England in the year 1567. During this time, we have comedies, we also have tragedies. In your first semester, when you were discussing the Elizabethan age, apart from the role of poetry there, you also studied the emergence of drama, the different types of drama that was popular, the kind of audience that attended the play, and the kind of patronage literature or drama was provided. There are a couple of examples given for the regular comedies that started being performed during the Elizabethan age. One playwright is Nicholas Udall. A famous play, a comedy by him, is Ralph Royster Doyster. Another comic playwright, Richard Edward, is famous for the play Damon and Pythias. This was presented before Queen Elizabeth in the year 1564. In your asylum, there is a typographical error, and 1564 is typed as 1964. I'm sorry for that oversight. Then we also have some tragedies being performed in the Elizabethan theatre. The early tragedies are Gorboduc. This was jointly written by Thomas Norton and Thomas Sackville. And we have Thomas Hughes's Misfortune of Arthur. These are examples of early tragedies in the Elizabethan theatre. The development of drama in English also leads us to the university wits. The university wits were contemporaries of Shakespeare. They were playwrights. They were well educated. They had studied at Oxford and Cambridge. They knew all about plays. They knew what they were writing. So we have excellent plays being written by the university wits. Plays like The Man in the Moon, or George Peele's The Arraignment of Paris, Robert Greene's Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. The other authors, playwrights, and their plays are given on your screens. Thomas Lodge, The Wound of Civil War. Dido is a play by Thomas Nash. The Spanish Tragedy is a tragedy by Thomas Kyd, and it is written on the lines of a Senecan tragedy. You also learned about Senecan's tragedy in your first semester. Then we have Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, a very, very famous play, and The Jew of Malta. Because we will be talking about Shakespeare in the next unit, I have not discussed Shakespeare under the Elizabethan theatre, but as you all remember from semester 1, Shakespeare was the greatest writer, greatest playwright of the Elizabethan age. So don't think it is left out here. I am not discussing Shakespeare's role in Elizabethan theatre because we are going to cover it in the next few units. After that, I said that during the Puritan age, drama was completely banned, theatres were closed, so no plays were being written or performed. Then, during the Restoration age, when Charles II was restored to the throne of England, this is again something that you've already studied in semester 1 in the course History of English Language and Literature. Charles II had spent his time in France, and when he came to England from France, he brought with him various traditions, and drama was once again popular in England. The Restoration drama that you will quickly look at in this unit deals with two major components. One is the comedy of manners, and the other is the heroic tragedy. Let us first look at the comedy of manners. That is very representative of Restoration comedy or Restoration drama. Comedy of manners was extremely witty. It depicts upper class society. It is a satire on the attitudes, manners, and pretensions of people belonging to this society. What are the major things that we see in these plays? We have lovers chasing one another, or a man chasing a woman, or a woman chasing a man. Among the married couples, we have stories of husbands who are cuckolded or cheated by their wives. Most of these plays presented loose morals because of the social influence on people at that time. This was the restoration of Charles II. From his exile in France, he had brought several mannerisms that are seen reflected in the comedy of manners. The two major writers of comedy of manners during the Restoration period are William Congreve and William Wycherley. One play by each of them is mentioned on your screens. The Way of the World by William Congreve and William Wycherley's The Country Wife. The influence of the comedy of manners can be traced to the plays written by Molière, and Molière is considered to be the father of comedy of manners. Then we look at the other kind of drama that was written during this period, and this is the Restoration tragedy, also called as the heroic tragedy. What the playwrights did during this period was to present drama or a play based on something like an epic poem. So just as an epic is a long narrative poem dealing with the exploits of a character who is heroic in several respects, similarly these plays tried to be an imitation of the epic poem. Like the pattern that they followed to write their tragedies was generally in the form of heroic couplets. Later on, as the heroic tragedy emerged within the Restoration age, we find the use of blank verse. What is blank verse? In poetry, blank verse is something where a poem where unrhymed verse is used, and the meter that is used is iambic pentameter. There is no end rhyme in blank verse. If you remember from last year, John Milton's Paradise Lost is written in blank verse. The two famous Restoration tragedy playwrights, as you can see on your screens, are John Dryden. Two example plays are given there, The Tyrannic Love and The Conquest of Granada. Thomas Otway is another playwright of this period who wrote heroic tragedy or Restoration tragedy. Two example plays by him are The Orphan and Venice Preserved. From here we move on to the 18th century drama. If you have noted, whatever we were discussing until after Shakespeare's period, where we are studying King Lear, we do not have any representative plays of the other periods, not even of this period, 18th century. In the 18th century, again we have tragedy as well as comedy. There were other forms of drama which are not very important for our study. Then this is also the period where we see a decline of drama. More and more people were interested in novels. There was less and less performance of drama. So we find the decline in drama during the 18th century. Two major dramatists of this period that you should know about are Sheridan and Goldsmith, R.B. Sheridan. Let us take a quick look at the kind of tragedy that was being written during the 18th century. We have three different types of tragedies that were written during this play. I have given one playwright and one play as example against each type. One is the classical tragedy written by Joseph Addison, and it is titled Cato. If you remember from semester 1, you would know that this was the period of neoclassicism, where writers felt that we should go back to the classical age. So we have a classical tragedy by Joseph Addison. Romantic tragedies as a continuing influence of the Elizabethan age were also written, and one example is The Fair Penitent by Nicholas Rowe. Domestic tragedy was also written, and the example that I have used is The London Merchant by Lillo. Then in the 18th century, we looked at sentimental comedy. Sentimental comedy started as a reaction to the comedy of manners of the Restoration age. If you remember from the slide on the Restoration comedy of manners, you would remember that I said that it generally dealt with the upper middle class society or the upper class society. In contrast, in sentimental comedy, we have the use of the middle class. The middle class society is depicted, but while the Restoration comedy of manners intended to excite laughter, humor, and make people happy, the sentimental comedy, as the word indicates, it is highly sentimental. It evokes tears. We do not find any humor here. What we only see is pathos. Pathos is the evocation of feelings of sorrow or sadness. So though it is termed comedy, we do not find humor, we do not find laughter. There is a lot of sentimental outburst of emotions, a lot of crying, etc. going on in these plays. Three examples are given there on your screens. Colley Cibber's Love's Last Shift, Aphra Behn's Busybody, Richard Steele's Lying Lover. I'm not sure whether you were paying attention as I was moving the slides. Whenever the title of a play is presented, I have used italics. When you write this in the examination hall, because you will be using cursive handwriting, you cannot indicate that this is the title of the play. So what you will do is, wherever you have to mention the title of the play, please underline it. That will indicate to the examiner that you know this is the title and that you have underlined it. Within the same period, we also have anti-sentimental comedy. This, like the comedy of manners, goes back and depicts upper class society, but here it invokes a lot of laughter. And again, like the comedy of manners, there is a lot of vulgarity in these comedies. Two famous comedians of this period, Oliver Goldsmith and Richard Sheridan, and their plays are given as examples on your screens. Goldsmith's She Stoops to Conquer, and Sheridan's two plays, The Rivals and The School for Scandal. Then we come to the Victorian age. The Victorian age was again the age of the novel, the age of poetry. It was the age of the dramatic monologue, and there is not much happening in the field of drama. However, a few of the major writers also wrote plays. Alfred Tennyson, again, if you can go back to semester 1 and try to recollect what you studied under the Victorian age, you would remember that Alfred Tennyson is famous for his very long poem In Memoriam. He also wrote a play in blank verse. It is a historical play and it is titled Queen Mary. About Robert Browning, we remember that he was a very good writer of dramatic monologues. My Fair Duchess is a very good example of a dramatic monologue by My Last Duchess is a very good example of a dramatic monologue by Robert Browning. A play that he wrote also in blank verse is titled King Victor and King Charles. Matthew Arnold, famous for his poem Dover Beach, wrote a play. Only play that he wrote is Merope. Other playwrights of the same age are Swinburne, Yeats, and J.M. Synge. Then we move on to the 20th century drama. In your syllabus, we are going to talk about Henry Ibsen's A Doll's House. That falls under modern drama. When we look at 20th century drama, there is a lot of things happening here. And what you see reflected on your screens are all important points. One, we see the emergence of the theatre of the absurd. A famous writer of the theatre of the absurd is Samuel Beckett, and is very famous for his play Waiting for Godot. This play represents what was happening in society around the World War, the sense of helplessness, the sense of loss of identity, a sense of existentialism. We also find expressionism in modern drama, where we find that a play is used to critique the government or it is used to critique society. And these plays in modern drama have an intense show of emotions. Most of these plays are fragmented, are presentation of fragmented scenes. Just as human life is supposed to be fragmented, the play also presented fragmented scenes. Then we have Henrik Ibsen, who is famous for realism or realistic drama. He greatly influenced George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw is famous for several plays of ideas like The Apple Cart, etc. So these writers aimed to create, these playwrights aimed to create the illusion of reality on the stage. Modern drama is also referred to as the drama of ideas because a lot of ideas are used to change society. So we have the playwrights expressing ideas meant for social change. So instead of having action on the stage, what we actually see in these plays is the characters presenting or expressing their ideas. So there is more expression of ideas and less action happening on stage. But because we are dealing with problems of life, problem of everyday life, problems that are of importance, so we find that there is a lot of intelligent presentation of the different problems that we encounter in our lives. If Unit 1 is clear, we move on to Unit 2. Unit 1 is a complete background study of the origin and development of drama in English. In Unit 2, we specifically deal with Shakespeare. And if you remember, when we were discussing the last unit, I did not touch Shakespeare at all because I said there are other units devoted exclusively to Shakespeare. A very brief background to Shakespeare is seen reflected on your screens. When he was born, when he died, April 23 is given. April 22 is also considered to be his date of birth and also the date on which he died. His early poems are Venus and Adonis and The Rape of Lucrece. In all, we have 38 plays by Shakespeare and 154 sonnets. We will look at what sonnets are in a little while now, though you have already studied them previously. When the first folio by Shakespeare was published, it contained only 36 plays. A folio refers to the page size in which the plays were collected. What were the different categories of plays that Shakespeare wrote? On your screens, I have listed tragedies, comedies, and history. He wrote tragedy, he wrote comedy, he wrote history, and the history plays by Shakespeare deal with both Roman historical plays and also the English historical plays. Apart from that, there is a combination of tragedy and comedy also in some of his plays. These are referred to as tragicomedies. To understand Shakespeare, it is important that we look at Shakespearean tragedy and also Shakespearean comedy. The moment we say Shakespearean tragedy, the four major or the four great tragedies by Shakespeare come to our mind: King Lear, Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello. Some of you might have studied these plays at the school level or at the +2 level or at the UG level. Shakespearean tragedy is written in 5 acts. The complete play is divided into 5 acts. Each act is further divided into scenes. The structure that is followed in these plays is pyramidical structure. We have rising action in the first 2 acts. In the third act, the play reaches its climax, and in the last 2 acts, we find the falling action. Some important terms that you see reflected on your screens are hamartia. Hamartia refers to a fatal flaw in generally the protagonist of the play that leads to his downfall. So hamartia is a fatal flaw that leads to the downfall of the protagonist. What is the hamartia in King Lear in the play prescribed for your study? It is hubris. Hubris meaning pride. The pride of King Lear is his flaw that leads to his tragic downfall. And then we have catharsis. What do we mean by catharsis? Catharsis is the purification or the purgation of the emotions of pity and fear. We can also say catharsis is the process of expressing strong feelings of anger, pity, or fear to reduce suffering through purification. Please keep yourselves muted. 2 other terms that are not reflected on your screen, but terms that you should be familiar with when we study Shakespearean tragedy. 1, peripeteia. Peripeteia is a sudden reversal of fortune, and this occurs in the life of the protagonist, leading to the climax. We also have a concept called anagnorisis. Anagnorisis is the discovery of another character's true identity or true nature. We'll find these when we discuss King Lear. How King Lear undergoes anagnorisis when he understands the true nature of his 2 elder daughters. And we'll also see how King Lear undergoes peripeteia when there is a sudden reversal of his fortune. In the tragedy that Aristotle talked about, he talked about 3 unities of time. He felt that the unity of time, place, and action should be maintained. However, in Shakespearean tragedy, we find that Shakespeare does not follow the unity of time, place, or action. His play is not structured around one day. It is not set in one place, and the action does not revolve around a 24-hour period. Instead, what Shakespeare does is he follows the unity of the character. We have the neglect of the 3 unities of time, place, and action in Shakespearean tragedy. The Greek tragedy or tragedy as proposed by Aristotle also had a component of the chorus. The chorus would come on the stage and narrate various aspects of the play so that the audience could understand what is happening. In Shakespearean tragedy, we also have the use of a subplot, a plot within a plot. And again, unlike the classical tragedy, we have comic relief. Zenith, please mute yourself. Comic relief is a small action, a small scene within the tragedy where, to lessen the effect of the tragedy, some comic element is present. Zenith, please mute yourself. It will affect the recording. Now we look at Shakespearean comedy. On the screen, I have, I think, reflected only 2 or 3 plays. In your SLM, you will find a complete list of all the tragedies written by Shakespeare, of all the history plays by Shakespeare, and all the comedies written by Shakespeare. 2 examples of his comedies are As You Like It, The Merchant of Venice. Zenith, will you please mute yourself? The common theme in a Shakespearean comedy is the theme of love and marriage, and we always have a happy ending. The ending could be either in marriage or a reunion of different characters in the play. Most of the characters in the comedy are middle class characters, unlike in the tragedies where you have a king or a very important person. Mistaken identity is a very common feature or characteristic of a Shakespearean comedy. We have characters donning various disguises, their disguises leading to a lot of confusion, or we have a case of twins, a sister and a brother who are twins who get separated, and some people mistake the girl to be the brother and the brother to be the sister. This leads to a lot of confusion, lot of comic element in the plays. Like Shakespearean tragedy, we also have the use of subplot in Shakespeare's comedies. There is a lot of play on words in the comedy, lot of use of music. Unlike in the tragedies, where men play the important role, in the comedy, women are given an important role to play. So whether you take As You Like It or The Merchant of Venice, you will find the women characters having a lot of important roles to play. The sonnets are not a part of the paper. Zita Jahan, you need to mute yourself and keep your device muted, please. You can keep the device slightly out of reach, so by mistake you do not unmute yourself. Shakespearean sonnets. These are not a part of your course drama in English, but because we are dealing with the life and works of Shakespeare, you have a small component in your SLM on Shakespearean sonnets. First, let us understand what we mean by a sonnet. A sonnet is a short play, a sonnet is a short poem written in 14 lines in iambic pentameter with end rhyme. There are 2 major kinds of sonnets. One, the Petrarchan sonnet as used by the Italian poet Petrarch, and the other, the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. The main difference between the Petrarchan sonnet and the English or Shakespearean sonnet is that the Petrarchan sonnet is divided into 2 parts, the octave and the sestet. The octave contains 8 lines and the sestet contains 6 lines. The octave generally presents the problem and the sestet finds the solution. In the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet, we have 4 parts. There are 3 quatrains of 4 lines each, and there is a concluding couplet of 2 lines. In each of the 3 quatrains, an idea, an image, or a theme is presented, and the couplet tries to sum up what is being said in the 3 quatrains. The rhyme scheme followed is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. In your SLM, there are 2 example sonnets given. One is sonnet number 116. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds or bends with the remover to remove. Like this, the sonnet proceeds. And you can study this sonnet to see how it is written in iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter is a meter where you have 5 feet and a total of 10 syllables, an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. This is used in all the sonnet forms. From here, let us move to King Lear. I should have mentioned this last week and requested all of you to read the play King Lear and come to class today. because if I discuss the play without you having any idea about what the play is, it would not be so easy, or you will not be able to enjoy what I have to say. Some of you may have already studied King Lear, the play in its original, not the unit in your SLM on King Lear. Will be able to follow what I'm saying better. Nevertheless, what we will do now is, I will quickly go through the two units, Unit 3 and Unit 4, and give you a little background about King Lear. But before our Friday night class, I would expect all of you to have read King Lear. I will also try to show you King Lear on YouTube now. There is a beautiful movie on King Lear where you have Olivia Lawrence playing. So when you find time, please watch this. That will also give you an idea. King Lear is easily available on the website, on the internet. You will have access to the original play. Please try to read it. Okay, now let us quickly look at the background, plot and characters in King Lear. This is a play by Shakespeare. It is a tragedy. The tragic hero or the tragic protagonist is King Lear himself. The play is titled after the main character. When you're writing any answer on King Lear in the examination, if you're referring to the play King Lear, please underline it. If you're referring to the character King Lear, do not underline it. In my slides, I have used italics to refer to the title of the play, or when I'm referring to the play. When I'm referring to the character, King Lear, I have not used italics forms. So King Lear is the king of Britain. He is very old and he is weak. When the play opens, we find the king ready to abdicate his throne. He is ready to divide his kingdom into 3 parts and give these 3 parts to his 3 daughters. But this action of the king, as we can already guess, is a very stupid action. The king, as depicted in the play, is a very lonely person. He is very vain, he is very foolish. So he decides, as I told you, to divide his kingdom into 3 parts and give these to his 3 daughters. But then, how will he give these 3 parts to his 3 daughters? He has a condition. Each one of the 3 daughters will have to express their love for their father. So love for their father becomes the unit of measure to allocate the 3 different divided kingdoms among the 3 daughters. As we progress, I'll be talking about the plot. The plot revolves around King Lear. He is the protagonist. We have King Lear suffering because he has divided his kingdom. The daughters do not take care of him. He is left outside in a storm with nobody to take care of him. So there is a reversal in his fortune. The king who was ruling over a large kingdom is now utterly helpless, does not have any authority. He even becomes mad. We also have subplot, a plot within a plot in the play, where we have the Earl of Gloucester and his 2 sons, and we find a very similar situation happening to him. How one son does not take care of the father, he gets blinded, he is ill-treated, and how the other son tries to help him out. There are various characters in King Lear. A few characters are there on your screens, the last 2 lines. King Lear, the protagonist, his 3 daughters, Goneril, Regan, Cordelia. We have the fool, who plays a very important role in not just King Lear, but in different tragedies of Shakespeare. We have the Earl of Kent, the Earl of Gloucester. These are very loyal people of King Lear, very loyal noblemen of King Lear. They remain loyal to him even after he has divided his kingdom. Then we have the 2 sons of Gloucester, his legitimate son Edgar and his illegitimate son Edmund. We have the 3 husbands of the 3 daughters. Goneril's husband, the Duke of Albany, Regan's husband, the Duke of Cornwall, Cordelia's husband, the King of France. We also have another character, Oswald, who is the steward of Goneril. On your screen now are the main characters. This is in fact the main family of King Lear. The father, the King Lear, has 3 daughters. Their names are given there, who each of the daughters is married to is also given there in the blue boxes. Goneril, the eldest daughter, is married to the Duke of Albany. The second daughter, Regan, is married to the Duke of Cornwall. And Cordelia, the youngest daughter, is married to the King of France. And the other characters that I mentioned a little while ago are again listed here separately. Earl of Kent and the Earl of Gloucester, as I told you, are loyal nobles of King Lear. They continue to be with him even after he has no authority. The Earl of Gloucester and his two sons form the subplot in the play. The illegitimate son, Edmund, tries to usurp everything that is owned by Gloucester or that should legally belong to Edgar. He is an evil character in the play. He also has a relationship with the two older daughters of King Lear. Goneril's servant Oswald is another character who's extremely loyal to Goneril and who ill-treats the king and his nobles on the instructions of Goneril. Then the other two characters are the old man, very wise person, and the fool. The fool in Shakespeare's plays has an important role to play. The king, remember, is the symbol of authority. Nobody can say anything wrong or bad to the king. But because the fool is a fool, the fool can say anything to the king and get away with it. And you find that the fool has the wisest statements in the play. That is what we discuss in Unit 3. In Unit 4, we talk about the theme of the play. What is the theme in King Lear? We can say that the theme runs across various ideas. We have the theme of, you will need to keep yourself muted. We have the theme of old age, King Lear in his old age, the Earl of Gloucester in his old age. We also have the old man. What happens to people in their old age? How is old age treated? There is also the theme of familial ties. What is the bond within a family? How do the daughters love their father as long as is the king? And how the moment he doesn't have a kingdom, two daughters stop loving the king. Then we have the theme of insanity. We have the madman, we have Edgar pretending to be mad, we have the king here who becomes mad in the course of the play when he finds that his own daughters have rejected him and thrown him out. Then there is the theme of order versus disorder. As long as King Lear, please mute. As long as King Lear remains the rightful ruler over England, over Britain, there is order. But when the kingdom gets divided and Goneril and Regan start ruling, we find that there is a lot of disorder happening. Then we have the theme of fidelity versus infidelity. Cordelia remains infidelity, whereas in the case of Goneril and Regan, we find that they are infidel. Then there is the theme of justice also. So we find various themes being incorporated into the plot of King Lear. What is the dramatic technique that Shakespeare uses? What is this whole narration about? To quickly tell you the summary in brief, as I told you, when the play opens, we have King Lear declaring to everyone that he would now like to divide his entire kingdom into 3 parts and give them to his 3 daughters. He tells each of the 3 daughters to express their love for him so that he can decide whom to give which kingdom, which part of the kingdom. The elder daughter is given the first chance. She praises him to the sky and she says that my love for you is so much, my love for you is so high, so deep, etc. The same is done by Regan. Both of them flatter the king. Both of them do this out of greed. They think that if they say that they love the father a lot, he will give them bigger portion or better portion of his kingdom. So we find that there is already selfishness and greed in the 2 elder daughters. Then comes the turn of the 3rd daughter. In fact, when the first daughter expresses her love, the king is happy, he gives her 1 part of the kingdom. When the 2nd daughter declares her love for him, he is very happy and he declares the 2nd part of the kingdom to her. The third part, as he says, is the best part of his kingdom, reserved for the third daughter. When her turn comes to express her love to her father, what happens is that she's a very sensible girl. She knows the shortcomings. She also has no greed. She's very, very loving and caring towards her father. So she, out of honesty and integrity, says, my love for my father is as much as a daughter can love her father. It is nothing more, nothing less, because now you are my father, I love you. But when I get married, my love will be divided between you and my husband. Like my sisters, I cannot say that I love you as much as the sky or as deep as the ocean. But I do love you as much as a daughter should love her father. With this, actually, Cordelia is expressing the greatest form of love. But King Lear fails to understand her. He thinks that she has insulted him. So he gets angry and he gives her portion of the kingdom, divides it equally, and hands it over to the two older daughters. Now the King of France comes forward to seek her hand in marriage, and we don't have all the scenes happening on stage, but we know in the course of the play that she gets married to the King of France and she leaves. Because King Lear has no kingdom to live in now, he decides to first go and stay with his elder daughter, the older one, Goneril. She gets tired of him very quickly because she knows she is now the ruler. The king is not the ruler. He has no authority. He gets ill-treated. Oswald, the servant, also ill-treats him and his nobles. And out of rage, he goes off to Regan. Goneril has already informed her younger sister not to be good to the father. She is more cruel to him and to his entourage. She doesn't take care of the king. There is a storm happening outside, and the two daughters who have rejected their father have no place for him and is out in the open in the storm. This is a very symbolic part of the play where the storm outside reflects the storm that is going on inside King Lear, and we find him becoming mad. In the meantime, there is a lot of things happening. The subplot tells us how Edmund, the illegitimate son of the Earl of Gloucester, plots against both Gloucester and the legitimate son Edgar. He joins hands with both Goneril and Regan, has relationships with both, leading to their infidelity to their husbands and also enmity between one another. So as things pass, we find that the sisters also have a quarrel. One gets killed and the other is poisoned. And in the meantime, Cordelia hears about what is happening in the father's divided kingdom. She is concerned for her father, and the King of France, her husband, comes to Britain to invade it so that King Lear can be saved. So we find Cordelia coming back, taking good care of King Lear. We also have the daughter who advises Cordelia to play soothing music to him and not to mention anything to him about the critical events in his life, so that those things do not recur in his mind and affect his sanity again. So these are the things happening in King Lear. You will be able to enjoy it much better if you read the play. Give me a moment, I'll stop sharing the screen